Welcome to the Family Office, planning for the people who matter most.
And that's what I'm saying. And it kind of goes into what we're going to talk about today. And you mentioned Flock as an example, and the surveillance and all the other stuff, the BS. You know, I always used Flock a few years ago. I think it was Flock is enterprise. It's enterprise communications, so like GroupMe, but like enterprise level, right? That's what you're talking about, right?
No. So Flock is surveillance essentially. So if you drive down the street, we'll have to show it to our viewers.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. You're talking about the
where they can capture your driver's your license plate information. Yes, and not only because the technology exists for that, but not only that, it can capture like your car make and model, then they work together in a network. So if you're traveling down interstate, and you have multiple sightings from Flock, they send data to that local law enforcement agency to be able to identify your whereabouts. Yeah. And so the reason why I wanted to talk about this was just that slippery slope between liberty and safety. And where do you fall on that?
It's so funny because I'm sitting here and I'm going, oh yeah, that's what we're talking about. And I'm going, my head was I was working on software a few hours ago and I'm still in like the SaaS environment. And that's what I was thinking.
Gotcha.
I was thinking Slack.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay.
I'm going, wait a minute. Hold on. Switch gears. And then you're reminded by your mortality and your age and you go, shit, that crap didn't happen to me when I was in my 35
It happens to the best of us, man. Believe me.
But what I will get worried about is if the response time, you know what I mean? Like the correction time. Right. Absolutely. I still believe that I'm in the normal correction time barrier.
You are good.
But yes, there's a lot of local, it hasn't reached like a national thing yet, but there is a lot of local communities that are talking about this. And I listened to somebody explaining this quite lengthily, and I was like, "Wait a minute!" And it's and you know what's crazy about this is that it's always done in the name of safety, right? Oh, it's for your safety. And while there are a lot of great safety enhancements that can be had by something like this, at the same time, you're absolutely right. This is mass surveillance. And I was listening to a car guy. He was reviewing a car. And he was saying, did you know, because a lot of these newer cars have the selfie cameras inside of them now, especially like luxury brands like Mercedes and BMW and crap like that, and Cadillac. So because even they have the iris readers for the autonomous, well, those cameras are recording you. And the next step is what, Len? And I'm sure you've gotten this, is your insurance company wants to put the dongle in your car or they want the app on your phone and you'll get a discount.
The safe driver discount.
No, bro. Heck no. So you're absolutely right. This is where this is going. And there was just recently a local municipality or something that was caught using this data or something like that. You know what I'm talking about, right? And they're like, wait a minute, what? This data is being sold. And what's funny about it is that it's kind of almost like the Federal Reserve in 1913. We're going to print money, lend it to you, and then tax it on you to pay it back to us. You're going to borrow from us, and we're going to print this stuff that doesn't. So it's almost exactly the same thing. You're going to pass legislation for your safety, pay for it, for us to harvest your data and watch you drive around, and then sell that for whatever the heck we're going to do.
But the crazy thing about Flock is there's been no real legislation about it. So there was a young guy who invented this, and he started selling it to the cities, and it just caught on like wildfire, and it's been getting placed all throughout the country, and there's been no real legislative process with this. And that's why people are so up in arms about this, because, when you look at the First Amendment, freedom of speech, you could use those things to do facial recognition and identification. You could use it on a slippery slope if you're talking about ICE agencies and all of these things. And then, right now, the major use of it is for, if a crime is committed, then they can use each of the different Flock locations to identify a person's whereabouts and also anticipate where they're going. But one of the things, I don't know if you heard about this, Chris, there was one place where an officer used the Flock technology to stalk a person that he liked, that he was interested in. So he took, account of all of her whereabouts so he can know where she was. And they finally found out who the guy was, and he got arrested. So imagine, this is early on in its use. Imagine what this could look like in the next 2 to 10 years with the trajectory of mass surveillance. Because you already see what's going on in other countries, specifically China, where you've got the whole social report cards and all of that stuff. I don't want any part of that whatsoever.
Well, I mean, at that point, the president or the government is God, right? I mean, we're judging you.
The all-seeing, all-knowing, all-powerful entity.
We're judging you. So we've just given righteousness to a group of people. But that's what communists are anyways. I mean,
but it's happening right here in America.
No, I get it. So luckily there are 3 branches of the government, because if this crap happened to me and I got a flock, because I know it's big, and I know in California,
it's everywhere. I promise you, your car is been on a flock. It's in Texas. It's in California. It's in just about every state.
Because here's my only thing, recourse with it.
Okay.
And I guess it's even tougher depending on the state you're in, but still it's a federal thing. You could go and argue that in court. If someone tried to use flock stuff, you were surveilling me. There's no way. I didn't give you permission to surveil me. Like, you're not allowed to do that. So, that's inadmissible in any.
Check this out. Flock safety automated license plate reader cameras operate in 49 states in the United States. You want to guess which state it's not in right now?
California.
Yeah, take a wild guess.
California?
Nope. Alaska.
Of course, because no one is going to drive
It's even
there.
in Hawaii, bro.
I'm
crazy.
not surprised about that. That's crazy.
49 out of 50 states, man.
So how is that even legal then? And is it in the weird liberal areas, like the liberal hotspots, or is it just everywhere?
Okay, 49 out of the 50 states are liberal. Okay, Chris. So
no. What I'm saying is it in a liberal city inside a state, and that's
no.
Is there a way
it's a whole massive network.
That's
let me
crazy
explain. Okay, let me explain the impetus behind it. So the whole idea of flock came around. In fact, there's a couple of data points I want to read to you. So Flock Safety operates automated license plate reader cameras. The cameras can record license plates, vehicle images and characteristics, date, time, and locations, repeated sightings across multiple jurisdictions. One camera captures a public observation. Thousands of connected cameras can create a detailed map of a person's movements. And so this is in, like I said, 49 out of 50 states. So here's what happens. It was sold to law enforcement. So when a crime is committed, they can more easily use these cameras working together as a network to identify the whereabouts. And that's how they're selling it. But a lot of people are very, very concerned about how it's being used. And that's on both sides of the aisle. And the biggest concern that's going on right now, Chris, is that there is no legislative process because of the fact that you're talking about the biggest one is the 4th Amendment, which is the whole illegal search and seizure. Because the thing is like if I'm a criminal, then you have to get a warrant, or if I'm an alleged criminal and there's, some reasonable suspicion, there has to be a warrant for my arrest. You can't come and search my house. You can't do any of that unless a judge allows it. So with these cameras, you've got illegal searches and seizures happening. There have been instances where a lady was, assumed that she stole something. The cops came to her house and he said, I'm 100% sure it was you. And so she had to use surveillance cameras from her neighbors to prove that she wasn't the person being charged.
Holy smokes.
Right. So now you go from innocent until proven guilty to guilty until proven innocent. It's flipped on its head. And this is, and it wasn't like, I'm not saying this was some black lady in rural rural, Memphis. It was a white lady in a suburban city where a cop came and tried to arrest her. And if she hadn't had other surveillance cameras in the area, she'd be potentially locked up for, because what the camera saw, they couldn't identify her with, 100% clarity, but the person of interest had similar characteristics, like a similar silhouette, right? And they automatically jumped to conclusions. And that cop was certain. So watch this. Imagine if that lady would have pushed back. Imagine if she would have resisted and escalated the situation. She may have gotten shot, harmed, potentially even killed for something like that. So,
well, that is a scary thing. And I don't think anybody realizes I didn't even realize how entrenched it is everywhere.
I didn't know about it until my son brought it up to me, because we were he was out here from New York. Like I said, he's on the tip of the spear of tech stuff. And so we were driving to the store that was probably like 2 miles away.
Did you notice any? Were you able to see any around
He saw a device, because what you'll see is it looks like a small solar panel, like 12 by 12 roughly. And then you'll see a little camera attached to it. And it kind of looks like imagine how a ring, looks like oval. It's a little bit like a speaker, and you can see the lens right there, but the telltale sign is the solar panel on it. And you'll just see them random locations. So we were passing by a place, and he saw this little solar panel. He's like, "Do you know what that is?" I was like, "No." He's like, "I think that's a flock." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? What is that?" He's like, "Oh my gosh, you haven't heard of it, Dad?" He's like, "Yeah." So we went and took a look at it, and all of a sudden I was like, "No, I don't think that is." But we passed by. It turns out that it wasn't, but it alerted my attention. And since he's mentioned that, I've been out on the lookout for different ones around, because they're everywhere.
Or maybe like everywhere. Pokemon Go.
Man.
You know what is going to happen? It's going to be like, remember back in the 90s when you would go and get a radar detector and a laser detector? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Now you're going to get a flock detector. Like you're going to be
I don't know how much you're able to maneuver around them. Well, because they're so prevalent, because the only thing that's going to happen, unless the masses of people move to change legislation, they're just going to be more and more and more and more in the interest of safety.
Yeah. That would guess that there'd have to be legislation or something like that would have to be done. I just can't believe that there's not something already, anti-surveillance laws and privacy laws that are already in the United States. To me, it's wild. Look, I understand the application.
Can you see this? That's a heat map.
That's the heat map.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Look at that. I'm surprised California is not leading the charge on this. But then again, who knows? I think what's going to end up happening with this is there's going to be legislation for it. There's just absolutely no way people aren't going to stand for crap like this. You remember the whole BS with the red light cameras? And they got very popular, and they had to take them all out because they were deemed unconstitutional and shit like that. It's the same exact thing that's going to happen here, unless we have a crazy person but again, our system doesn't allow for just something like that. But, or you're just going to see vigilantes running around with like radio jammers and frequency jammers. Like you're going to be able to buy it,
or little guns just to go shoot them out. But then you'll see the person shooting it like, right?
Look, I think that, and I understand, I think it makes perfectly good sense for private property. I mean, I would want something like that if I have private property.
Yeah, right? You elect and you choose to buy it.
You elect to, or you're going 100%. Into like Len's office building and there's a sign that says, "Hey, by the way," kind of like how you go into a building, it says, "Hey, by the way, you're on CCTV, you have closed circuit television." That stuff has to be closed circuit. It cannot be that way. And law enforcement can't be trusted with that kind of stuff either.
Now, I'm going to give you a flip side after you're done. I'm going to give you a flip side.
Yeah, absolutely. But I do understand but here's the problem that it gives me Minority Report like vibes. Do you know what I'm talking about? You ever seen that movie with Tom Cruise?
Tom Cruise, yeah.
It gives me Minority Report vibes. You're like, bro, that's scary.
The pre-crime police.
Yes. The flock police. So the flock police are going to come and get you because they saw you driving that way. Like, that's just baloney to me. Like, get out of here with that crap.
I agree.
Like,
I agree.
Stop.
So here's the flip side. Okay. Tell me what your thoughts are. So there is a prevailing understanding amongst the folks within law enforcement that when you're in a public space, that you should understand that you are under more than likely some type of surveillance, right? Like, so you can't just assume privacy when you're out, because, when you're driving, the lights, have scanners where they can see your license plate. When you're in public places, a lot of the stores have CCTV, when you walk into a restaurant or a retail place. So because of that, do you see using that as a springboard to say, hey, Flock does have a good use, and I'll present for example to you. So imagine there's a criminal, it's a serial rapist that's out on the loose, and there have been numerous incidences within a specific radius over the last 5 years, but they can't find the person. I could see a case where creating an area where that person was and all of these incidences happened, going to the judge and issuing a search for all of those and triangulating all of the data. But then, for people who are not considered, guilty, or who are not considered suspects, you have to take that information that it's on those cameras, and they need to be deleted within 24 to 48 hours. So in specific incidents where there's a specific crime in a specific location, I think there could be a use for it. And then there also should be some type of warrant where if I'm a cop, I need to sign in some kind of way so it can track my usage, so I'm not using it to randomly and arbitrarily go on so I can stalk baby girl around the corner that I saw at Walmart that I thought was cute.
Yeah. The thing that I'm always hesitant about anything like this is that at first it does sound very good, and your argument in that point is very good. Hey, we could catch this person. But we oftentimes we got to also think about the unintended consequences of what that means, and the new normal that now creates. And that realistically is a one-way door. I mean, once you open that and you give power like that, especially to government agencies, there's no turning back. They're not going to want to give that up, because people running government are people, and they're going to want that control. So I definitely think if it's probably going to happen, but you definitely have to safeguard it a lot. I mean, tokenization, like you explained, is key to it. You can't look at this data like, sure, fine. Every municipality has a flock system, and that flock system is in private. I don't agree with public areas, but maybe it's private areas if private areas want to sign on to that. But let's say it is in public areas. No one's allowed to look at that data unless a crime is accused, and then that crime has to be brought forth a detective, and then that you have to go through the due process, and then before the law enforcement can even look at that flock data, they got to get a freaking warrant. Just like when you throw a license in a system and you got to certify this and certify that and certify this and get this in order to check this box to do this thing in a system, you got to do the same thing to get that data. That data should not be controlled, because again, it should be handled by the three
branches of government.
The three branches of government. It is not, judicial department has to say, hey, you can go look at this data, executive, law enforcement. You can't just arbitrarily go, oh yeah, it's like putting the sales guys in charge of the finance. You can't. Right? Mm-hmm. Sales guys make the money, but they can't be accounts receivable and sell. You can't do that. So you cannot put this data in if it's going to go that way, it just has to be safeguarded. But still, even if you do have that, nobody is a big fan of mass surveillance like that. Nobody wants that. Yeah. Because again, what it does is it then forces, and no matter what you do, you are then at the mercy of whoever controls those systems. And those and you will be all you got to do is watch Game of Thrones. Whoever's in power has virtue. Whoever's not in power doesn't have virtue. I might have a certain set of virtues that hold currency under my administration, that you have a certain set of virtues that no longer hold currency. So you can't allow human beings to have control over like that over other human beings. It's exactly the reason why communism and socialism and any isms like that never work, because collectivisms don't work, because you're putting in you're asking a human being to be righteous.
Yeah, what we have, you're right. And what we have in our society right now is this tension between liberty and security. Yeah. And those tensions are always going to be at odds. And I think one big ethos that is not uniquely American, but definitely ingrained in the American psyche is the notion of liberty. And when you have more liberty, there are going to be unintended consequences of that. When we have the right to protest, when we have the right to say what we want, when criminals have rights, or accused people have rights to be, tried by a jury of their peers and all of those different things, there's some liberty that we look at as a bigger virtue, going back to your word about virtue and power. A big virtue within the United States is to have the freedom to make those mistakes and the protections that are afforded by those. And we can look at, because think about it. If you want to reduce the amount of fatalities through car accidents, you can make every person have to put a breathalyzer test inside of their car before they could turn it on. You could have speed, the speed detectors at every light. So if you ever go over the speed limit, you'd get a ticket instantly, and you could have cameras identify your face and all of those things. If we put all of those processes in place, the number of deaths would go down significantly. If you eliminated gun laws, and told every person that had a gun to confiscate their weapons, the murder rate would go down significantly. But at what expense do you want to have that? You don't want to live in a police state. We don't want to have mass surveillance. We don't want to be controlled and ruled by somebody else, because we don't want the 10% of the people who go beyond the boundaries of the social contract to dictate what happens to the 90% of us that follow the rules and follow the laws and still enjoy our freedoms. And so to me, liberty is something that we always have to strive toward, and never allow the people that are in the ruling party right now to dictate what happens. Because here's the thing. One party's never always going to be in control in a two-party state. So if the other people that's contrary to your point of view gets in power, how would they abuse that power to their benefit? And that's why we always have to lean towards liberty over security.
I think the more, it just seems, if you go back and you look at civilizations, the more civilized they try to get, the more violent they become. So if you, all of them, if you take away, it's fascinating that a lot of studies there are certain studies, I can't say a lot, but there are certain people that are under a very good, strong opinion that there is no military army. If you look at the world's biggest military armies, China, Russia, North Korea, any of that, and you look at them,
and the United States too, you got to
taking out the United States, those armies wouldn't even be able to beat the amount of gun owners that the United States has, which is like 107 million or something like that.
There's 380 million guns right now in the United States.
But there's 107 million confirmed gun owners.
100%.
So there's 107 roughly, right?
Yes.
And if you were to mock an invasion of the United States with a Chinese military, all those, all of them are the United States militia, meaning those 107 million people. They all have a 60% chance or greater from every adversary winning without zero military interference at all, without any U.S. service. So that in itself tells you why the right to bear arms is so important. But it's also the right to bear arms against your government and invasion and all those things. So I don't think, if you took away guns, I disagree with you in taking away guns. I think if you took away guns, you'd see the murder rate go up. I think you see the murder rates go up drastically. because the places that have the highest gun control laws, and we're not talking about gun control, like Chicago, have the highest murder rate. So I disagree with you a little bit on that, but I do understand where you're going with that or what you're saying with that.
Another conversation for another day, because I could argue that one. But
we could look, here's the problem. When we start to safety ourselves, when we could safety ourselves to death. And that's exactly what happens with all of these different things that we're talking about. And surveillance, the biggest thing I think that you'll end up creating is massive malcontent. Massive
100%.
Because 100%. Here's the problem.
Because liberty is at the core value of what it means to be an American.
And then imagine for a second that you're going to have someone like AOC have control over data like that and legislate law over that over you. There's no way. This is a person who walks around screaming communism and unfairness, yet she has somebody paid to hold an umbrella for her. So you have wacky people like that in the United States right now that can afford to be wacky because we have a capitalistic society. So I am not aware of I was not aware of how big the flock thing is, Len. And huge. I'm like, I've heard about it and I'm like, no, come on. But it just goes to show you that no matter how informed you are or you think you are, you got to really pay attention to stuff because,
and that's one of the reasons why we have this show, right? Because the whole idea is to learn, and we want people that are in our audience to be able to take a look and hopefully see something that they hadn't seen before. Speaking of something, now we've beat that topic into a dead horse. Now think about this topic.
That's important though. I mean, you're being watched by somebody. I mean,
no doubt about it. No, you're absolutely right. And
if I'm getting watched, I want to get paid.
I want to know
it.
about it. 100%.
I want to get paid. And
I want to know. And I also want to know.
Yeah. Because I'm entertainment. I know that.
Hey, it's been a great conversation, man. I know we had a couple of other topics on the table, but sometimes other topics deserve the amount of time to go in depth because in this paper, chasing, clickbaiting, topical story having news cycle, sometimes you need to go a little deeper and just engage in some lively debate without having to take a commercial break. So I always enjoy these conversations with you, Chris.
Likewise. See you next time.
All right. Till next time.
Conversation has given you clarity on your next steps. Please share this episode with someone who's walking the same path. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss future episodes. And remember, planning ahead isn't just prudent, it's an act of care. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on The Family Office.